I think a good nurture is a mix of content, right? So case studies, testimonials, but also tips. Like the thing that you were just talking about, I hadn't heard that before. I didn't know there was a new rule or a new law or something like that. So that's a great piece of content. Like, hey, Chase, just wanted to make you aware of this change that happened in our industry. Here's what it is, and here's what we think about it. Here's our point of view, etc. So you mix in all that different content into your automation, and now every lead goes into it, and they just start dripping through that content. When we say automation, it's just automatically delivering that to the person. But we need to make sure the content that's being delivered does not feel automated, right? It needs to feel personal. And I think that's really what separates the pack. Once people start doing that and thinking back of, okay, let's go through all our sales last year. What stories can we tell about those sales? Like, oh, and I'm sure they'll jump out like, oh my gosh, you remember those? Remember what happened and how, you know what I mean? Like, I know that those stories are there. You just need to flesh them out into content and then make sure that every new lead gets dropped into that sequence, because at some point they're going to see something that resonates with them and say, oh, you know what? I am going to reach out to them because, now that I know that they can do this, or now that I know they've had experience with that, I do feel more comfortable actually taking the next step.
You're listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world. We talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories help you win in your local market today. My name's Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Vikram Deol of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, you weren't here last week, and I was saying in the green room prior to us hopping in here that I felt lost without you last week. And anyone that's listening back on iTunes or Spotify, go back to the episode. I don't know, like probably 3 episodes ago. Go back to the episode where I totally flubbed the intro, and I'm like, and then I had that like realization moment. All of a sudden, I'm like, he's not here. Like my Indian friend is not here. It's like,
no, I'm always with you, my friend.
I'm like, I had this like feeling in the morning. I'm like, I think I need to go get some chicken tikka masala tonight. But
that's racist.
What's up, my friend?
I'm gonna have what are your guys' fries with gravy that are disgusting in Canada?
Poutine, bro. Poutine.
God, those poutines, those are so disgusting. I don't know how you guys eat those. They are just something about it. It's just not good.
It's a bar food, man. Like it's like a late night bar food. You went out Friday night. You're like, you drank a couple too many beverages, and you get poutine.
I got it. You're in San Diego. Which is super cool because I get to see you tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, I'll see you in San Diego, which is fun. Where we get to hang out in America, North America, not South America, which is cool. You know what's funny, dude? I wonder if people think that we are either best friends or if we are just doing this podcast because somebody told us we had to. Because our guest doesn't know Chase, but some of our previous episodes have been people are y'all are aggressive with each other. They're like, we don't even want to talk. We just want to hear you two banter and talk smack to each other. I'm like, no, Cody's one of my best friends. And it's so funny because I was at dinner with one of my really good friends from college days. We did our MBA together. And he goes, he's not the guy that's on social media that's commenting and liking. He's one of those people. You guys, I promise you guys, if you do social media, you have supporters that are in silent. And they are watching your story and they are following, but
100%.
Just not commenting, but they are listening and watching and they love you. And please keep creating content because you have no idea how it helps other people. But he goes, hey man, how's your buddy Cody doing? And I'm like, have we talked about Cody? I met Cody when I was already in Miami. We used to, he was my biking buddy. And we rode thousands miles, 7,000 miles together in a couple of years. Right. So we talked a lot about everything. I'm like, do you know, I was already gone when I met Cody. He's like, yeah, how's Cody doing? He said it like he knew you. He's like, is he still traveling? Where's he at? I can't keep up with you guys. And I started laughing because I was
That's funny.
I was like, bro, how do you know Cody? He's like, oh, well, from your social media, you guys have that podcast thing together. Are you guys still doing business together? How's his marketing company? He knew everything about you. And I was like, dude, that's why you're my brother. I fucking love you, man. And so you guys, I just want to encourage you, keep posting.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you say that because I've had conversations with some of my friends and the same, for back home, the same thing. They're like, oh, Vikram, even you haven't met like Josh. I've been back in LA for the last 3 weeks, and we met up, and like, you know, like Andrea's here with me, and like Andrea's like, oh, Josh doesn't know Vikram. I'm like, yeah. Like, you know, it's like the social media thing. The social media thing is 2 degrees of separation. It's like everyone knows somebody through social media. And I think this is a perfect opportunity. We're talking about, you know, degrees of separation, for us to introduce our guest, Chase Buckner from Go High Level. It's before, you know, I give you an opportunity to kind of intro yourself, Chase, and kind of talk about what you do at the company and kind of what your role is, and what even the company is for a lot of our listeners who don't know what even Go High Level means. I want to give everyone a high level overview. No pun intended. A high level overview on this platform. Literally in I got on the platform, I think in 2019 is when I created my first account. 2018, 2019. It was around.
OG.
Yeah, it was an OG. I remember meeting with Sean. Like, I think there was like 500, 600 people in the Facebook group at the time. Like, like you guys were grassroots in the beginning. And I remember getting on the platform and like it solving a need for me as a marketer in order to scale out the operations of what we were trying to create, to make it more simple for us as marketers to bring on more clients. And High Level is kind of the backbone for our agency, Sheridan Street, to essentially allow us to fulfill the program and allow us to get our clients appointments, allows us to, send clients notifications. It does a whole bunch of things. But Chase, like, why don't you give us kind of the, 90-second Cliff Notes version of who you are, what Go High Level is, what you're up to, and then we'll hop into some tactics for everyone today.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for having me, guys. Filling in for Sean, who had a last-minute travel obligation, but he and I share a lot of the webinar duties and podcasts together. So I am Chase Buckner. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at High Level. And essentially, High Level is like, it's actually hard to describe because it does so many things, but it's it's a sales and marketing platform.
CRM, it's like a marketing thing. It's so much.
Yeah, we're all the tools that a marketer needs to execute pretty much anything that they could imagine, all under one roof. But our biggest differentiator is that instead of trying to sell the stuff to business owners, we typically market and sell towards marketers, agency owners, consultants, internal marketers maybe, and they then have the ability to white label the platform and sell it as their own software if they'd like. So with realtors, we see a lot of like realtors sign up directly because they seem to be a little bit more technically savvy, or maybe they have a marketer on their team or something like that. So I would say the white label leverage is a little bit less in the real estate space. But yeah, that's typically what a lot of our customers do. We'll sort of white label the platform and then go resell it as their own, which enables a business or a marketer or an agency to offer software in addition to services, which has sort of been what's the real big game changer. But in reality, I think it's really the features that have sort of impacted that industry and why a lot of realtors and realty marketers are on the platform now.
Well, let's jump into it, man, because I am not... Y'all don't be confused by my name. Just because it's Indian and I am brown does not mean I get down with tech. All right. I do not like tech. I do not have the patience. I like tech. I don't have the patience for it. And in the real estate space, this is one of the things that Cody and I have had a lot of conversations on is real estate agents are not, it's not that they're negligent, or it's not like there's all sorts of negativity around real estate agents. And none of that's true. But realtors are in their car. If you're a busy real estate agent, you're in your car for half a day. And then the other half of the day, you should be prospecting. And then for like a sliver of the day, you should be taking care of the business that's already there. Oh, and then you also got to take care of like a team member or a family member. So real estate agents don't have a tremendous amount of free time if they're actively producing. So how do let me just kind of, from what I see, what your platform does as an actual real estate agent. Your guys' platform has a click funnel. It's got a funnel system built into it. So you can get rid of like your click funnels. It's got a built-in CRM. You can create web pages. You could even create a course where you can create a link, and you could build in like a buyer seminar course. So you could send out your course to all of your buyers, right? And they would go in and you would actually be able to log them in, and you'd actually be able to give them a login and see where they're at in the course, right? You could do it for sellers. You could do it for investors. You could sell the course. You could give the course away for free. You can have a whole bunch of different automations around follow-up inside of Go High Level. There's so many things, right? What I use it for mainly is that Cody does all the back end stuff. Like he makes ads and stuff for me on Facebook. And then those go into my CRM there. And then I can just click on a button, the little phone, and I dial the person directly from my High Level, and I don't have to take them into a dialer. And I like that feature. And then I have all my notes and everything there. I can put follow-ups and tags and all sorts of cool things. And the tags can send out all sorts of different emails. It's like really awesome once you build it out. But like, why would a real estate agent, right? Like, let's say you're a high producing agent, you're doing 2, 3, 4 deals a month, but you're not quite a team yet. Like, why would an individual real estate agent value a product and a service and that you guys offer?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you mentioned, realtors are pretty much always on the move. And I think therein lies the opportunity, right? So smart realtors, the ones that start leveraging automation, are the ones that are it's so easy for them to sort of leapfrog the pack. Because when you're always on the move, things are always falling through the cracks. So nurture is probably the biggest thing that I see realtors coming in for right out of the gate. Like, sure, realtors come in and they're like, oh, I work for this agency and they give me this crappy website. Like, I want my own personal website. Great, cool. You can build a great, awesome website in High Level. But really what they're looking for is the nurture. Hey, I need to make sure that my leads aren't falling through the cracks. And with purchasing homes and whatnot, obviously that's a long sales cycle. There's a lot of nurture required. And for the folks that do it are the ones that just, I'm thinking of this guy, Peter Michael, who just dominates because, he leverages the tool. He took the time to build out good nurture content, meaning it's any way that he gets your contact information, whether you're ready to buy now or not, he's going to be sending you case studies and properties and tips and stuff for years, right? Because he has it all built out and it's all just automated. And I think that's really the number one thing that separates the pack is, do you have automated nurture in place? Because if you don't, you're going to lose out to somebody who does.
I think something unique you said there was the case studies and the building, taking the time to build this stuff out. It's like, how does, like, I understand that. And like but it took me a while, like when I was early on in my marketing career, it took me a while to really understand the power of nurture, really understand the power of, what Sharon calls email sprinkler. Yeah, it's an art. Like, it's an art to, and most agents, even the agents that are really good, struggle with coming up with content in a way and crafting content in a way that can actually make, like, they have a hard time coming up with a unique selling proposition. Like, why should you use me versus anyone else? And I love what you said about case studies, because I think it's something that we overlook so much of, like, I helped this client do this. This is where they were before. This is the result I got them. And Vikram and I have had a lot of conversations about client case studies, testimonials, just getting those out more and more. But like, aside from like automated nurture, like, what do you see? And maybe like, it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically for real estate, because maybe we can apply some of the things that other business owners are doing on the platform. Yeah. What are they doing that is really working around nurture?
It's easy. So an easy example is, right, like, I'm sure all of us have experienced this if you've ever looked for a home. You fill out a form on some realty website, and then maybe once a week or once a month or maybe even once a day, you get an email and it's like, hey, here's a new property. Here's the price, whatever. Let us know if you want to look at it. That's, I would call like a C- nurture, right? What an A+ looks like is, hey, Chase, just wanted to introduce you to Tom and Mary Smith. They were looking for a home in the region and they were really struggling. While there was a lot of inventory available, Tom works from home, so he needed to have a home office in addition to the 2 bedrooms that they needed for their family. And Mary loves to garden, so she really needed a space, and then you go through that story of, here was the problem, here's how I worked with them to solve the problem. And it's me connecting with Tom and Mary. It's not just me looking at stock photos of some house that just got listed for sale. And so as you build those out and you put them into your nurture, when we say automation, it's just automatically delivering that to the person. But we need to make sure the content that's being delivered does not feel automated, right? It needs to feel personal. And I think that's really what separates the pack. Once people start doing that and thinking back of, okay, let's go through all our sales last year. What stories can we tell about those sales? Like, oh, and I'm sure they'll jump out like, oh my gosh, you remember those? Remember what happened and how, you know what I mean? Like, I know that those stories are there. You just need to flesh them out into content and then make sure that every new lead gets dropped into that sequence, because at some point they're going to see something that resonates with them and say, oh, you know what? I am going to reach out to them because, now that I know that they can do this, or now that I know they've had experience with that, I do feel more comfortable actually taking the next step.
Hi, it's Cody from Sheridan Street. I want to invite you to a free trial of our Sheridan Street appointment engine where we'll send you 3 buyer and seller live appointments for absolutely free. Go to sheridanstreet.io/trial. That's SHERIDANST.io/trial. And you'll get instant access to a free trial of our Sheridan Street appointment engine. Let's hop back into the show.
With for the people listening to this, building case studies, right? Because in the previous days of real estate, and Cody and I talked a lot to Sharon about this, realtors would say something like, oh, you don't pay us on the buyer side. You don't pay us. The listing agent pays us, right? That was their claim to use me versus the listing agent, because you're not actually paying for us. Well, now with the new litigation and the new rules and all the changes that are coming about, and MLS is actually allowing, not that it changes, because MLS was allowing you to put $1 for compensation, but now it's more prevalent in the minds of buyers and sellers. Sellers are like, well, we don't want to pay the listing agent to pay the buyer's agent. We want the buyer to pay for the buyer's fee, and we don't care. And when Sharon and I were talking about this, we were talking about the reverse engineer. How do you build value? And you guys, what Chase just broke down, right, was a case study. So, like in your nurture, one of your things should be is, because everybody pay, like if you look at like a real estate agent's post, they post a picture of a happy family and they have the just sold sign, and the just sold sign is like them super happy and there was no problems. And I'm like, a real estate transaction is kind of like going into a war zone. You have another agent on the other side who probably hates other agents and thinks that all buyer agents suck, and they're like super angry. You have a seller who thinks that their agent actually works for the buyer. You have the buyer who thinks that you work for the seller, right? And you have all these stories and all these emotions that are going on, but people only show the keys at the end. Hey, I got the house and the happy photo. And I keep telling my clients and the people I work with, show the war story, show the Grey's Anatomy trauma where there's a helicopter that explodes. Tell the stories about how there's so much stuff that can go wrong in a transaction, and here's how you solve it.
100%.
That's all buildable inside of high level, isn't it?
100%. So I think a good nurture is a mix of content, right? So case studies, testimonials, but also tips. Like the thing that you were just talking about, I hadn't heard that before. I didn't know there was a new rule or a new law or something like that. So that's a great piece of content. Like, hey, Chase, just wanted to make you aware of this change that happened in our industry. Here's what it is, and here's what we think about it. Here's our point of view, etc. So you mix in all that different content into your automation, and now every lead goes into it, and they just start dripping through that content. And I think just having it, right? Even if you just have the C+, or the C- version, that's a step. But once you start to do what we're talking about, I mean, it's just night and day, the results. Because when you start looking around, right, you end up interacting with lots of different realtors. And so it's so easy for one of them to jump out at you just by connecting with you through some content where you don't even think about going with the other ones. And I think that's really the name of the game. It's just, how do you most quickly establish that connection and trust with your leads so that they don't even consider your competitors?
There's lead experience and there is client experience, and they go both hand in hand. It's like the lead experience, like we spend so much time, or some of us spend a lot of time on the client experience and some of us spend more time on the lead experience. And when both are neglected, it's very hard to build a business that is sustainable for growth. Like, one of the things that I've loved about High Level, even from the early days, is your guys' ability to listen to the consumer in such a way that it's like, hey, this is the problem we're having, like with this platform, or this is the problem that we're trying to solve for. And then you creating a solution for that problem, like collective calendars. Like, for the last 3 years, I've been asking for collective calendars. They're here now. Like it's like you guys can't do everything. Like, it's like you've done such a good job at like implementing so many things. Like, I was around before memberships were a thing. I was around before team calendars were a thing. Like, there's so many things that you guys have implemented. I guess, like, when you're like, how are you getting this feedback? Like, and then like, what are you guys doing to implement the feedback? And like, how do you think that real estate agents or real estate teams, maybe this might be specifically more for teams, like, because Vic and I have had conversations about, agents even like having trouble documenting things. So this might be more of a team conversation, but like, how do teams take client feedback and then re-engineer the product in a way that gets the client their desired result or keep them happy?
Yeah, I mean, so we do things a lot differently than most software companies. And so first we have an ideas board. And so our customers can go tell us what they want and then vote on each other's ideas. And we really stick pretty closely to that. So once we see an idea bubble up and it's got, a couple hundred votes, then we take it, we consider it, we make sure it makes sense, and then we roll it into the roadmap. Now our team is at a size where pretty much everything we decide to build, within 4 weeks, we'll have the first version of that. And so we call that the skateboard. And so most traditional software companies, if we use the skateboard metaphor, right? So you're going to build something. The MVP, the minimum viable product, we call it a skateboard. And then essentially it'll evolve into like a bicycle, a motorcycle, full-blown car. Most software companies wait until that feature is a car and then they release it. And the danger of that is it takes way longer to get to that point. And if you didn't nail it, well, you just spent so much time building something that nobody ends up using. And then you've got to go back to the drawing board and do that again. We've always taken the opposite approach. So we roll the skateboard out publicly. And our customers know, like, when something launches, it's going to be basically an MVP of that. And then we listen to the feedback, and that tells us how far we need to take it. A lot of products never make it past a motorcycle because it hits their needs, right? And then we kind of leave it there until, unless something changes in the community, comes back to that, and for whatever reason, something new came out, new technology, and now they really want it to go to a car. And so that's the way that we roll. And it's awesome. It's frustrating at times because you're like, oh my gosh, this thing just rolled out, but it doesn't do this, and I really needed to do that. And it's like, okay, well, if everyone else also needed to do that, don't worry, we'll evolve it pretty quickly to that stage. But that's the way that we approach it.
How do we take your guys' feedback loop? Because again, like real estate agents, there's this perception inside of real estate of perfectionism. And it's
that's a really good point. That's a really good point. There is
that's honestly why I hate the industry. Yeah. I used to have an agency and I never dealt with real estate because everything about it I can't stand, because it's this phony world of every house is perfect, every property is the best. And everybody knows that's not true.
Everybody has the sold sign that's got the perfect house.
Exactly.
Right. And it's like, you guys, like, I don't know where this came from. Obviously, I'm only 41 and I got in the industry 10 years ago. And I felt that even my previous brokerages told me, like, you can't post certain things online because we don't want our image to be tarnished. And I'm like, all I'm doing is posting how we do sales meetings and how we like run our sales team so that our client knows why we're trained to be better than other people. Like we're doing what every business owner in the world does. Every company works on sales training. And they're like, no, this is bad. Don't post this online. I was like, this is the craziest shit I've ever heard, but whatever, I'm going to do it anyways.
I can tell you a really funny story. So a few years ago, I live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which is a big real estate town, tourism town, you know what I mean? And over the years, I had lots of marketers come and ask me for marketing help and advice, and I would tell them all the same thing. I hate this industry. Everybody, it's all BS. If you're willing to like buck the trend, then I'll work with you. And none of them were until this kid, Ryan Donner, showed up in my office, and he's like, I'm all ears. What should I do? And I was like, start a YouTube show, and every week talk about 3 properties. One that you think is the best deal in the market, one that you think is going to sell like right super fast, and then one that's overpriced, one that you don't like, not that you don't like the property, but you don't like the price or something you don't like about it. It will immediately establish trust. You'll be the only realtor that people think they can actually trust because you're the only voice that's saying anything that's not like, oh, everything's perfect. So we started recording episodes, and like the second or third one aired, and he called me and he's like, hey, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, because the one that I panned in the last episode, that the developer of that project called my boss and went off. And so now I have to go apologize to this guy. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I didn't even know you had a boss. And he's like, well, yeah, I work for this agency. And like, so I got to go apologize to this guy. And I'm like, well, that sucks, but I'm sorry that happened to you and whatever. So then he calls me back and he's like, so I went to this meeting and I apologized to this guy. And then he told me that he actually loved the show and he wants me to represent their next project, which is like a 300 unit condo building or something. So like he got this exclusive deal out of it. And then the guy asked us to go film there at the property. And I was like, this is so funny, right? Like they freaked out about you being real, and then you being real immediately attracted you to them. And now they want you to like exclusively represent their stuff. And so he went on to start his own agency, and then he was free to create whatever content he wanted. And now I think he's the top realtor in the whole Bay. But it's just shocking to me how many people aren't willing to sort of step outside of that zone of like, oh, everybody has to think everything is perfect and that I'm perfect and that all my properties are perfect. Where I think the opposite is true. If you would actually just let people into reality, I think you would immediately stand out.
Especially in the world of social media, because it's the authenticity. Like I always say, social media wasn't created as a marketing tool. It was created as a means for us to socially network. Like that was the whole idea of social media. We just, as marketers, tend to ruin every single platform that we get our hands we get our hands on, and we try to figure out how we can siphon money out of the platform. But like, I guess coming back to like client experience, like coming back to, because I really want to dive into things that you think real estate team leads or business owners can do in today's market, and just in today's headed into the future. Like, what are some things that you think that business owners and real estate team leads need to think about when it comes to client experience? It comes to actually getting like good feedback, because you work with tons of marketers, tons of business owners, because like you're in the marketing space, but you're also in the SaaS world, and you work with marketers. Like you see under the hood of so many businesses. Like what can business owners do in order to create a better client experience?
So for me, it always comes back around to communication. Nobody likes to feel like they're being neglected, right? And so we have this simple feature that I think realtors love because they are always on the move, and it's called the missed call text back. And essentially, once you turn it on, all that happens is if somebody calls you and you don't answer, it immediately text messages them back and says, sorry, I missed your call. How can I help? That one simple feature has changed so many industries, because you're calling, you want to talk to somebody, you don't get an answer. You're like, oh gosh, so now I got to like find somebody else to try to call. And that's just a terrible experience. So as soon as you get a text back, first of all, most of us don't even like to talk anymore. So you're thrilled that, oh, now I can text with this person. And now you're in an asynchronous conversation, right? And I think it helps businesses like realty, home services, people that are always on the move, to not neglect their customers, right? Even when they can't get to the phone, they can still service the customer via text message and then hop back into that conversation whenever they want. High level is just a communication tool, right? We just make it easier. And so, if you're a realtor working with people, I think you should give them an update every day, whether or not anything has changed. Hey, just want to let you know we're still looking into this, or we're still working on that, or, whatever it is. And a lot of that can be automated. And so I think that's really where high level comes in. We're just a communication platform that makes it really easy to do one-to-one, one-to-many, automated, but authentic conversations. With our mobile app, simple things like having text snippets saved, things that you say over and over again. Well, instead of having to type them every time, you can just, with 2 taps, select those things that you say all the time, and it just plops right into the conversation. So turning conversations into conversions is sort of like a theme of ours, and we are really focused on that. How do we make it easier for people to converse and then easier to turn those conversations into conversions? So for me, that's it. It's just don't neglect people. People want updates frequently. They want to be able to in touch with you. And so any way that you can do that more frequently, automated if possible, goes a long way.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it. It's just a communication tool, right? Whether you guys use High Level or you use your company CRM or you use whatever you have access to, plan a weekend to actually build out responses, because that is what it is. It's just a communication tool. It's an ability for you guys to stay front and center in front of people. And, like I talk to people and they're like, I don't know what to say and I don't want to sound salesy. I was like, well, it's better that you sound salesy than you say nothing, because there is somebody out there that is going to get in front of your people.
100%. Nothing is the worst. Nothing is a black hole that you will disappear into almost instantly in today's day and age, right? And so that's why I love, with High Level, right, or any good CRM, you can segment. So who are actively looking to buy, who's actively looking to sell, and you can communicate to those segments of your contacts in your CRM. And so for me, that gives you this opportunity, right? We have a really easy to use drag and drop email builder. Like if you've ever used MailChimp, you'll love High Level's email builder. Every day you could sit down at the end of the day and just take the thoughts from your head and put them down and then hit send to the group that it makes sense to send it to, right? So, Vikram mentioned some change in some law. Sit down and tell us about what that's going to mean to the industry. Here's what the impact of that is going to be. Here's my personal take on what I think is going to happen from here. And then you hit send. Every day, hey, I just got back from showing this property, and it wasn't a great fit for the couple, but here's what I learned about that. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, this property just went on the market.
But it's the perfectionism, bro.
You got to get over that.
It goes back to the perfectionism where people don't want to be real because they're so scared that by being real, they actually lose. Like, people don't want to talk about this litigation because they don't know how to get ahead. It's the elephant in the room. And so instead of just talking about it like, hey, yeah, buyers' commissions are going to change. The industry is going to change. Here's what I think still needs to happen if you're a buyer's agent. Here's why you should use me, X, Y, and Z. Or maybe not even me, but somebody, because that takes the pressure out of the room. It's like, here's why you should still have representation. Because buying a home is still the biggest decision you're going to make. There's still an inspection, a financing, there's contracts, there's all these things. And it just takes one mistake, just like our client yesterday inside the academy said, we have a person who reached out to me because they bought a home, their agent messed up, their inspector messed up, and now they have $100,000 in windows that they can't install in a home. Oh, by the way, they can't drive into their driveway because they have all the stuff that they were going to remodel the home with that they can't do the remodel because now they have to figure out why the foundation's ruined. Well, they can't do that because they have a slope issue. Oh, they can't do that because they have a drainage issue. So they have $150,000 in repairs and they hate their house.
So do you know what I hear when I hear that? I hear lead magnet. I hear you take that story and you put it down into content. And now on your social media profile, it's like, do not buy a home without reading this, whatever. And that's one of the pieces in it, right? And so in High Level, you can automate it. It's like, DM me this word and I'll send it to you, right? Like you can set up that automation, but that's beautiful, right? Because now I have a reason to join your list. I'm going to get something of benefit. I'm going to learn how to look out for mistakes like that and not have to go through that hard lesson like that person did. But I think one interesting lesson that I've learned over the years that applies to every industry is if you're in a position where you feel like you can't be real, you are a generalist and you think that you need to appeal to as many people as possible and you have to be this pristine thing. When the truth is the best businesses on the planet, and I'll use a sort of analogy with a website, the best websites make it so clear to you when you land on the page that you know if it is for you or if it's not. And if people don't go to your site and know that it's not for them, then your site is not specific enough, right? The best sites make it super clear that we are awesome for this specific set of people, and we are not awesome for the opposite. And if you're not there, then you're stuck in this gray world where you're just kind of like, you might do okay, but you're never gonna be at the top. Once you get to the place where people know exactly whether you're a good fit or not, then, like, I guess the point is, if people aren't walking away, you haven't gone far enough in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah. All great marketing should, me and Vic have had this conversation, and we have this conversation with our clients. All great marketing attracts and all great marketing repels. And your marketing needs to repel some people. Like, you're not going to appease everyone. And like, even like Vic, like, I know that like a lot of your messaging over the last, like, you know, couple months, 3 months has changed from like, hey, if you're stuck at 1 and want to go to 2, then like that 1 to 2 deals a month, like that I'm the coach for you. And it's like, I think that agents would really benefit. And I want to close out here with this. I want to give you an opportunity to tell, you know, if somebody wants to learn a little bit more high level, where to go. But agents, you would extremely, extremely benefit from just sitting down and asking yourself a few questions about what is your unique selling proposition. Like, why should somebody sit down and choose you over everyone else? Because once you actually think about and ask yourself, like, what separates me from everyone else? Because you are the brand, you are the person. You just sit down and think about that, and then you'll be able to tell so many different stories. And then even like putting pen to paper on these stories and these client case studies will help you understand what your unique selling proposition is. Like, what are the things that you're doing differently than everyone else in the marketplace? It's like, hey, we make sure that prior to going out, we make sure our clients get a home inspection, or we make sure they're pre-approved, or because if they're not pre-approved, this is what could happen. Like, once you sit down and actually think about how you're helping clients on a consistent basis, you're able to craft your unique selling proposition and understand that, like, for us, like we don't work with new agents. We're primarily marketing to only real estate teams. Very different than who Vikram's marketing to, the agent that wants to go from 1 to 2. Very different than what High Level is doing by marketing to marketers. Most SaaS companies would market to business owners in order to sell, like, and there's other people playing in your space that are marketing to business owners. The clearer you can get on Sharon calls it the dog whistle. The more that you can have that dog whistle where it's like, hey, if you're this person, this is for you. The clearer you get on that, the better results you're going to have in your marketing. And that's something that we've experienced. I know it's something that Vikram's experiencing. It's something that Go High Level has done at such a massive scale. Yeah, at a really high level. But Chase, if somebody were to want to learn more about Go High Level, they want to learn a little bit more about the platform, where is the best place that we can send them in order to learn a little bit more about what you guys are up to?
Well, I mean, I can tell you the website, but I think you should post your affiliate link, and they should just click the link below the video, and so that you can support these guys. Because
that's perfect.
That's good right there.
My affiliate link will be in the chat below. So yeah,
funny.
Sign up for Go High Level. Either sign up for the Sheridan Street appointment engine system, and we'll give you access to the platform. Or do it yourself and click the affiliate link below.
That's a very good point to make. If you are not technical savvy or you don't have a marketer on your team, then you should sign up for Cody's white label of High Level so that they can support you. If you are marketing savvy, then go through his affiliate link and you can open up an account of your own on a free trial so that you can test it out yourself.
We all got free trials. I got a free trial.
I got a free trial.
High Level has a free trial. Vikram has a free trial. Whatever you're looking for.
Proof over promise, baby.
Proof over promise. Hey, Chase, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. This was a ton of fun. Really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
If you guys got any value out of this and you guys learned something, all we ask is that you share this with somebody. We ask that you subscribe, you like, you follow us, because we are bringing in people from huge companies, huge people in the real estate space that are giving their time freely to help educate you on how to build the business of your dreams. And all we ask is that you guys give us a little bit of social currency with a like, a follow, a subscribe, or maybe this wasn't for you, but this is something that somebody in your brokerage needs, your team leader needs, the new agent that's struggling needs. Share it with them.
And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. We'll see you soon.